Okay, the next swing flaw that we're going to look at today is a term we call swaying. Most of you have maybe heard that term used about the swing. Hopefully it hadn't been used too much about your own swing, but I see that in my everyday teaching. I see that quite a little bit. And to define swaying, swaying basically is an excessive amount of lateral motion with the lower half of your body on the backswing. And there's some reasons I think that that can occur. One of those is that sometimes it can be a physical reason. Maybe the right hip is a little stiff and there's not enough internal rotation of your right hip in the backswing, and it's just difficult for someone to actually rotate in the correct fashion. It's always a good idea to get checked out with some things physically to make sure that you don't have some physical limitation that would prevent you from being able to make the correct swing. But even sometimes people that there's no physical reason why they do it, the movement pattern, the biomechanical movement pattern is off, and that's one of the things that we want to talk about. One of the things that I use a lot in my teaching is if you took a foam roller and cut it directly in half, and you have two halves to this, and if I were to just to stand and balance on these rollers like this, and then I got in my golf stance, anything that where I would start to move laterally with the lower part of my body, I'm going to fall off balance immediately. This is really what I call practicing on an unstable base. And it's amazing how when you stand on an unstable base, it actually develops a sense of how to have a very stable base in your swing. So as I stand on these foam rollers, and if I were to start my backswing away, what I would want to make sure that I did is begin the backswing. The arms actually start the swing first, and then the chest would go second, and then the hips would go third. And you can see that as I get to the top of my backswing, that there's no problem me doing this as long as I don't have any excessive movement away from the ball laterally with my lower part of my body. So something just as simple as doing something like this is a great way to somewhat detect that. But more than that, it's a great way to work on trying to develop a feeling of how the swing develops. The upper part of the body, as I said, is going to really begin the backswing, and as we talked about in that last segment, we talked about the over the top, that when we start the downswing, that as we start down, that we want to make sure that the lower part of the body or the hips really initiate the downswing. So now that we've identified that, and I've shown you a couple of things there that we can look at that may help to work on that, I'm actually going to go ahead and actually hit a shot or two for you. With one would be when I was trying to sway a little bit, and how difficult it is to really have a lot of things. One of the things that swaying will really produce a bad balance. Your balance is never good if you're into a swaying mode. So if I set up to it like this, and I took the club back and I swayed back, you can see it'd be really difficult for me to make much of a golf swing from that position. And so anything that puts your body in a position where you're moving laterally this way and swaying back makes it, you can recover from time to time, but it's never the best thing. I'm going to make a swing now, trying to keep my lower part of my body in a very stable position and rotating the upper part of the body around that, and then the downswing sequence becomes much better, and we should be able to make better contact with the ball, be able to make a swing that's going to send the ball more down the target line. So as I set up to it, I'm working on trying to really get in the ground and get a good stable base to work from, and then the backswing back here, and then through the shot this way. And so what you should have seen, if we did this is going to come back this way, initiate down and through. So just remember that if you're if you feel your lower part of your body having too much activity from side to side, you're probably swaying in the backswing, so it makes it difficult to create the right motion. So anything that would create an unstable base, I use the half foam rollers. I'll just do right quickly here. Another thing that you can do, which is right in your golf bag, if you were to lay a couple of clubs down on the ground side by side, and I just actually stood on the end of the grip like this, you really get basically the same kind of feel, because if I start to sway, then I'm going to fall sideways on the backswing. But if I keep my lower part of my body very stable, then you can see that I'm nice and balanced, even though I'm standing directly on top of those grips, which are an unstable base. I hope this helps you with your sway.